I just had a really interesting thought about the relationship between understanding and forgiveness. When someone does something that you feel wronged by, your level of anger, your level of anger is inversely proportional to your level of understanding of that person and why they did what they did, why they said what they said. And it seems to me, this really did just hit me. It's like the more I can understand a person, the more I can understand why they are where they are, which resulted in the actions that they took.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was thinking about it in this inverse correlation, if you could understand people perfectly, it seems like there almost wouldn't be anything, like forgiveness would be instantaneous.
Hmm.
There was a moment that changed my life. It was on the highway. I needed to get off on my exit. And coming up, I had probably, I don't know, half a mile, three quarters of a mile at 65 miles an hour. Comes up pretty quick,
Mm-hmm.
45 seconds. I had my blinker on. I was trying to, drive responsibly and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The guy behind me, just what an asshole. He wouldn't let me over. He
Yeah.
just wouldn't let me over. So eventually, I jump on the gas. I get over. I, basically just swerve in front of him and hit my exit.
Mm-hmm.
He honks at me. What an asshole.
Yeah.
Right after that, like 2 miles later, there's someone who cuts in front of me and does the exact, I mean, it was like deja vu from the other point of view. He cuts in front of me, he hits his exit, I honk at him.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized in that moment, oh my gosh, I'm going about my business. I'm keeping my eyes on the road. He may have had his blinker on,
Mm-hmm.
and I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get over 35, 45 seconds in advance, and I was the guy who wouldn't let him over.
Yeah.
So it was this really profound moment that I realized I am the guy behind me. I am the guy cutting me off. And then it was just like, well, okay, when I didn't see his blinker, I wasn't an asshole. I just didn't see his blinker.
Yeah.
And when he cut me off, he wasn't an asshole. He was just getting to his destination, trying to work around me
Yeah.
as I'm just kind of blindly doing my thing.
Yeah.
And I really understood the other side of both of those points of view. But we're so quick to think that everybody else is the bad guy. It shifted my mindset from being like this, well, I'm a victim in this standpoint, and then, in this other scenario that's exactly the same, I'm just the other guy. I'm a victim there too.
Mm-hmm.
I understood both points of view instantaneously. Anyway, it just didn't require me to forgive the person who honked at me, who I cut off. It didn't require me to forgive the person who cut me off
Mm-hmm.
because I just got it.
Yeah.
I have often said there's not always a good excuse for doing the things that people do,
Mm-hmm.
but there is always a reason. There is always a reason. So, and the best psychologists out there will help you to find that reason and like to dissect that and figure out what is the reason that you keep doing these things that harm your own life or that harm the lives of the people around you. Can we get to the root of that reason and dismantle that and see it from the other position?
Yeah.
As soon as you have that kind of understanding, it's almost like forgiveness it's easy.
Yeah.
So the things that are hardest for us to forgive are the things that are the furthest outside of what we can see ourselves doing. Almost always, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would you say that that's true for your life?
Yeah.
So you would never fill in the blank. So when somebody else does it, it just doesn't even make any sense to you.
Maybe for the most part.
If you have something that doesn't fit that paradigm, tell me what it is.
I remember I was driving home from my college campus and I stopped at one of the stoplights and this guy zoomed around me, blew through the stoplight. But in the back of my mind, I was like, well, the hospital's this way,
Right.
Maybe.
So just giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And he may have just been a careless, reckless person who doesn't think twice about the safety of the people around him.
Yeah.
Very possible. But how is it the healthiest for you to think about it? Probably as the person who needs to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And they
okay.
really
yeah.
do need, if you think of them that way, you can let it go fastest. If you
Mm-hmm.
can think of it in a way that where like, well, I would do the same thing given a certain circumstance.
Just putting yourself in other people's potential situations.
Yeah. So a couple months after that happened to me, I was on the same highway. I mean, we just, it was between the studio and home. I was on the same highway. Someone in a van just cutting traffic, flying down the highway. It really bothers me when people put other people's lives at risk. But it spurred on this thought, the same kind of thing. Maybe it's some guy whose wife is in labor in the back seat. And then it hit me, maybe he's just the same kind of reckless that I was when I was 19, 20.
Yeah.
And I understand myself at that time now. I didn't understand myself at that time.
Yeah.
But I can look back and think my life was really out of my own control. The only place that I had, it's like people who cut themselves. Really hard for me to understand until someone said, I don't feel alive. The only time I feel alive is when I feel this physical pain. And then I can kind of reconnect with myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's very harmful. It's very damaging to do that to yourself. And I think it's damaging on a long-term scale. It's something that you have to deal with long after you actually do it. But I get it. Even if that person, it was just, an angry, out of control, in the middle of trying to figure themselves out, my best will toward that person is I hope that they live long enough without doing something harmful to themselves or something that's going to really destroy the rest of their lives with guilt over something that happened, that they can find their own peace. It's something that I work on regularly to try to understand the most reckless, the most dangerous, the most insensitive ways that people can be from their standpoint. It incites peace for me. So yeah,
That's
understanding and forgiveness. If you
it's
have a hard time forgiving
it
someone,
feels one and the same.
yeah, I just never have put the two together before.
Yeah, no, me neither. Not like that. Not powerfully like that.
If you have a hard time forgiving someone, see if you can do a better job of understanding them.
I love it.